50 right now, high of 60. So we're in fall weather.
Nice. Yeah, we're hitting the 40s, but probably going up to the 60s. So we are live. Dave Kittle, Tony Maritato, Jimmy McHale join us when he can. He's still out of the area doing a conference. So, um, Dave, where were you Tuesday? Anywhere fun?
No, I was finishing up a patient that is just temporarily here, and they were going to be
Gotcha.
snowbirding. Yeah, they're leaving today, so it was just 2 weeks. But I knew it was only going to be 2 weeks, and I still had pitched the 950 concierge fee, 550 a visit. So if you can make 4 or 5 grand in 6 visits, I mean, why not, baby?
You got to do it. I saw somebody else, I think it was in Uncaged Clinicians, who posted saying he booked his first like 900 something dollar session. And what it was, he's not in Manhattan, he's not in New York, but he charged for travel time, an hour drive there, an hour drive back, and an hour treatment. And it was 900 something dollars. And of course, we got to celebrate. I mean, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
So we've got a couple of topics to discuss, but I saw this on my way in this morning. I'm going to see if I can share it. This was a post in the Next Level Occupational Therapy group, and it got me thinking about this. So if you can't see it, basically it says humanless driving might be more popular soon. I think as a OT profession, we have to be aware of the AI developments in the area relation to driving rehab. We also may need to create, and then it goes on to say, some programs related to AI wire or humanless driving. Do you have anything like that where you are in New York right now?
I haven't seen it. I haven't heard about it. I've seen Instagram clips of like other cities. I think they were testing it more in Austin, maybe San Francisco. I haven't heard or seen it being done here in New York City, although it's quite possible that it is. I don't know.
Yeah, San Francisco for sure. I think some areas of Arizona have it, Waymo and other stuff. So here's my question to you. You know, you are not necessarily embracing AI quite as much as I might be. Definitely, like, I love driving rehab. I think it's a huge opportunity. It's not a covered benefit under Medicare when we're doing return to driving assessments, things like that. There are certification programs out there. All of a sudden, we don't need humans driving cars anymore. Do you have any thoughts on either this specifically or other kind of adjunct things that are going to come available that we don't really need humans anymore because either robots or AI are going to be able to do it? We already talked about the robot massages. We've talked about, in the home, robots that are helping people walk and move and transfer and other stuff. What do you think? Is this
Just,
something that we need to prepare for?
just to clarify, because if someone is new here, I want them to know that I am hugging AI. I am embracing.
Oh, okay.
I am open arms with AI. I just don't think it's going to change the in-person visit between a clinician and a patient or client. Now, it can help on the front end. We talked about me developing plans of care before ever meeting patients just from a phone call. I am embracing it. I just don't think it's going to change all that much of how the in person and maybe even the one on one telehealth videos with patients and clients. I don't understand how how AI could actually change to any dramatic fashion, change how the actual physical therapy interaction is between clinician and patient. But everything else, yes, I'm in for it. Um, I think as you shared this, I think the one thing that would be scary is if you owned a medical transportation company with these the little shuttles and buses or vans or whatever, like you could, I think for the most part, this Waymo and all this technology is going to be, for the most part, sedans. Although there was that other company that was doing like the 18-wheeler driverless cars, which is scary to even think about. But eventually, that'll be a thing. And so, if you own a medical transportation company, you're, I don't know if you're going to be scared. I think you actually, if you adopt this technology that you have to probably pay for and license or whatever, you're going to save a ton of money on labor and all the benefits that you have, that you give your drivers. And unfortunately, I think maybe I'm probably in my lifetime and your lifetime, there might be the majority of these services. So whether it's the Uber, Lyft, shuttle, medical transportation that are driverless, that those companies will save a significant amount of money in their operations because they don't have to pay for a driver and pay for their benefits and their health insurance and their PTO, and those drivers come in late or they get sick or whatever. So that's super fascinating if you're a medical transportation company. I'm not sure if mobile providers will adopt it. Here in New York City, the traffic is now worse or about the same as before COVID. Then they did congestion pricing, and so but regardless, there's still traffic in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and so uh, even though I'm down to a small caseload, I'm still using the subway mostly. If I'm going into Manhattan, my therapists going into Manhattan or that live in Manhattan are using the subway. So this driverless technology, I think it makes sense. I just I don't know for other rural areas if it makes sense for therapists to think about this in terms of mobile therapy um, versus their own vehicle. Like if they already have their own vehicle, you have to look at the costs. And I think if you're a mobile therapist in other rural or smaller cities, it's probably going to be $20 to $30 for an Uber or Lyft between every single patient. So then what? Then you got to talk about that. You got to build that into your costs and all that. So anyway, we can explore more of it.
We're talking about two topics here. We've got the patient side, which is, okay, I'm a therapist. I'm not, but let's say I am. I'm a therapist who's been working with adult geriatrics who've had a stroke or some other injury. I work with getting them back in the driver's seat. Okay, now I have a brand new tool. Now all of a sudden I have something completely new that has never been available before. It's, the version of adaptive equipment that I used to have to fit into vans and steering wheels and all this stuff. Now it just drives you. It just does it. The question is, do they have the cognitive capacity to handle the vehicle, to instruct the vehicle, to know where they're going and do things like that? I definitely see two directions for that. I see a therapist who goes out and does car reviews. Hey, my name is Tony Maritato, and today we're going to be reviewing the Tesla XYZ model that is self-driving for mom or dad who still needs to go to their doctor's appointments, but they're not necessarily safe to operate the vehicle independently. You do car reviews, you're involved in the car purchasing process. You are the facilitator between getting the right person in the right vehicle who can do this. Then on the other side, you mentioned, then there's the therapist who just needs transportation to and from visits. We've talked about hiring a driver. My vision in 2025, if I was a mobile therapist, is do I have enough profit margin in the business model to say, hey, I'm going to hire a driver. When I'm in the house delivering the visit, the driver is going to be my receptionist. They're going to be booking appointments. They're going to be running the marketing team. They're going to be helping with my documentation, taking what my AI scribe generates and puts it into the EMR. Like the driver is multi-focused on what they can do. And if that means an extra $25, $30 an hour, I think you can probably have a built-in profit margin that covers that, so that then when I'm done with my session, I get in the car, driver takes me to the next appointment, but that will then go to full automation. So I think it's an interesting world we live in. And like I said, I think this kind of technology then moves into other areas of life. Like we have friends that get their groceries delivered. We have friends that do all sorts of automations. You do too?
We do.
So during COVID, we went and did, you do the shopping for me and load it in my car. I'll put it in the cupboard. But we have started thinking about moving toward, hey, I don't even have time to go to Kroger. Like just pay the fee and deliver it to my front door. I always thought I'd be completely against that. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I can bring that into my life.
Yeah, my wife is still resisted because she knows that picking out apples and tomatoes and all that, she'll pick out the best ones, and I'm like the 70 or 80% quality apples and tomatoes are good enough. They're good enough.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I would not have them pick out my meats. I'm gonna go and pick out my steak. I'm gonna go and pick out the meat. I don't care about chicken. You can pick the chicken, but don't touch my beef. I want the marbling. I want the design. I want to make sure I've got the right steak on the Blackstone. Jimmy McKay is in the house. Welcome, Jimmy.
I heard you guys talking about adopting things at the top of the show, or things that are way absolutely not, and then all of a sudden they are. And I mean, what's to stop someone from, all right, in the middle of your Instacart selection, giving you a live FaceTime feed of the meat, and you being able to just tap right there or do
There we
whatever.
go. There we go. That's what my wife needs. She would want to override and
And
be part of
then
the selection.
And then 30 or 40 meat selections, AI is like, I got it. You tend to, it'll understand what you're picking better than you understand why you're picking it, and it'll lean that way. I mean, I'm at a FQHC. Do you know what an FQHC is? I didn't until like 3 months ago. I did, but I didn't. A federally qualified health system. So they help mostly the underserved, people with no insurance or little insurance, things like that. And it is kind of cool because notoriously organizations like this are behind technologically. Like, they're dealing with like minimal resources, right? They're very scrappy. Without them, a large majority of people will not have healthcare, especially in rural areas. And me like bringing AI or like talking about this, they're like, well, that's like 30 years away. I'm like, this is the things I'm talking about we could do tomorrow. And they're like, it's kind of cool watching people just go. But even me talking about, why not select your meats with a FaceTime call? That's ridiculous. But it's not. Someone's probably already doing it. Like, I am no longer thinking I am coming up with any original ideas.
So that kind of leads into a second topic. I shared a post yesterday. I'm going to pull up a screenshot. Now, I use this screenshot specifically to draw some attention. Let me just get it up there. There we go. So this is a screenshot of the 2025. I see that comment. Don't worry about it. The 2025 fee schedule for my local hospital. I specifically highlighted PTOT, eSTEM, unattended,
Wow.
non-wound care, the charge rate, the bill rate, $544. The ultimate irony is a manual therapy fee is in the 200s, exercise is in the 200s, activity is in the 200s. Point in this, I was talking to ChatGPT yesterday. This has been a topic that I've been trying to figure out for a while now. Look, I'm in the Medicare system. I'm happy to treat Medicare beneficiaries. I'm happy to deliver what Medicare is paying me to deliver. But I would also like the option to deliver something better. Now, it's clearly stated in the guidelines, reimbursement for passive modalities like eSTEM. And we haven't done eSTEM for like 15 years, but it's coming back, and it's coming back strong. The cost of the supplies is included in the reimbursement for the CPT code. So I can't charge a patient for better electrodes. But this is where it gets kind of interesting. And this is just a mind exercise, because this will apply to other equipment, other services, other things. When I bought my Richmar eSTEM ultrasound combo unit 25 years ago, it came with these discs that had sponges. You would wet the sponge, you'd stick it on the skin, you'd strap it to the person, and that would do the electric stimulation. You guys remember that? Okay. So
I remember seeing it. I never did that, but yeah.
So these were, you would effectively use the same sponges across all your patients. To me, that was disgusting. That was like a crazy idea that you do this. So we would buy the sticky pads, and you'd pay $2 for 4 pads, all this stuff. My thing was, look, that's the standard of care. If a patient wants that, awesome. It's included in the $9 reimbursement for eSTEM or whatever the payment schedule is. But if somebody wants something better, if they want a premium pad, if they want a pad that sticks better or comes off the skin better, if they want a pad that looks cool, has logos on it, like whatever the heck they want, they are the consumer, they should have the right to buy. So talking to ChatGPT, they're like, look, you can't charge them for the electrodes because it's included in the reimbursement. But what you can do is if the front desk has a store that sells supplies, the patient could separately buy the supply, bring it to the eSTIM unit and say, hey, Tony, I want you to use my electrodes that I just purchased in a separate transaction. You know, and so now this has the wheels turning. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What if we want to do like essential oil infused, lotions that are analgesic that we use during manual therapy? I could obviously sell something like that at the front desk. I could sell premium resistance bands instead of the cheap TheraBand. If I don't want to provide, at my expense, these better than normal services or products or whatever, we've got it at the front desk. And I really think there's an opportunity here for somebody who says, look, I want to stay in the third party system. I want to continue to serve this population, but I don't want to keep losing money. As reimbursement continues to go down, I need to find my margin, and I want to give patients a choice to have a better experience. Any thoughts from either of you guys on this?
My cynical original, like right off the bat thought is, that's great. Yes. I think most of the people that you're describing, most, not all, want the insurance company to pay for everything. And they just rage against the machine. That you could be doing all of these things. But what they want is the system to just be absolutely just pay for everything. What they want is complete socialist medicine. That's not what we have. So like, I don't want to charge the patient. I love the patient. The patient is my friend. The patient is my neighbor. I get it. The patient, I want to just give them everything for free. In fact, I am willing to take a hit for them, but then bitch about not being able to stay in business or be able to pay yourself that much. So yes, I think psychology is the biggest limiting factor.
I'm going to come back to that. Dave, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think physical therapy practices specifically now, PT, OT, like the ones that treat patients, we have some physical equipment and products and things like that. It's either they don't want to bill the patient, they don't want to pitch the patient, they're used to the medical model, the insurance model, everything under the sun is billed through the insurance. They deal with the issues later, they deal with the reimbursement squeeze later. And they just want these patients to come back in. And every single time they come back in, the company, the practices want to charge the patient the least amount of money, whether they're waiving copays. Sometimes it happens a lot, or they're just giving away free things, free TheraBand, free whatever, free electrodes, whatever. And then maybe there's some practices in the middle, but I think there's more practices now, like us, like we're very clear and transparent up front. Like, here's how much the cost is. Here, like if we're billing you out of network insurance, here's how much the first 2 visits are. These visits are going towards your deductible. Once you hit your deductible, then it's your in-network copay. Or if if we don't take you don't have out-of-network insurance, you have United Healthcare in-network only, you're 100% self-pay. Here's the clear and transparent pricing. If you want a weekend visit or you want a weekday visit, here's exactly what it is, and it includes XYZ. And then, yeah, if we don't really sell physical items, but if we did, it would be like, here's exactly what it is. Here's the cost. Here's how it is transparently. And do you want help with that? We can help order for you, or you can go on Amazon, or you can go buy it yourself.
I mean, this is why cruise lines or Disney World have all-in packages, right? Which is ask them to make, listen, we've got this, everything is covered in this package. You can pay nothing and get this. Now, if you want these things, it's one package up, right? This is why like people would say you can go on a cruise ship or you can go on an all-inclusive, or you can go to an all-inclusive resort. Some people are just like, just give me one bill and then I want to be done with it, knowing that I'm getting I don't initially want the better of everything, but I do want this and that. So you know what, just dude, I want to be on the gold platinum package, whatever it's called. There's a reason people do that. I know you might feel icky selling that, but if you truly believe that the things that you're selling, people would notice a difference on, I have to ask you, is that a them problem or a you problem? Because People are willing to pay it. They do it every day. I mean, Uber came out in what, 2013? Like, to users, I mean. I'm pretty sure I was in PT school. And my roommate, who was 10 years younger than me, was like, there's this app, we can get a cab. We just touch a button. And I'm like, we're getting kidnapped. Like, this is insane. Like, this is Sketch City, dude. We're in DC and you're going to touch a button and a car is going to show up. And fast forward 10 years later, and I can get one faster. I can get a larger one. I can get a nicer one. I could share one with a random stranger, which is, I accidentally booked that before by accident. That's an interesting situation. But people are willing to pay for different levels. You not being willing to offer them is a different thing altogether.
We haven't talked about, by the way, Stephen Dunn is in the house. Welcome.
Steven.
We haven't talked about like new grads and employment and making yourself an appealing new hire in a long time. This would be one of those things. Jimmy is 1,000% right. Like, we live in a world where therapists refuse to even broach the subject of charging a patient a fee for something, and we've talked about the millions in lost revenue. Joseph Lowe came on, whether he talked about this here or with me separately, and he talked about large organizations that are literally losing over $1 million a year in lost opportunity because therapists are giving away stuff, giving away TheraBand, giving away supplies, giving away all this stuff. I think you look at the future clinician when they're saying, hey, I want to get paid more. How do I justify an increase in salary when reimbursement continues to go down? You walk into the private practice that you want to work in and you say, hey, I know how to sell. I know how to deliver increases in revenue and profitability. I understand the value of what we do. I understand that this isn't something that has to be given away for free. This isn't something that has to be given away for minimum wage reimbursement. I am coming to you understanding the culture of selling what people want to improve the patient care experience. That therapist is going to make $20,000, $30,000 a year more because they're going to generate $100,000 a year more. I think that's a value proposition that new hires could leverage in the right culture, in the right clinic. And truthfully, those are the clinics that are going to exist in 10 years. The ones who refuse, they're going to be gone. They're not going to be around anyway.
Well, the challenge is, as you guys know, is there was always the billing of the insurance, and that was now that model. We're talking about changing that model. Change. Not many humans like change. And so the difference between that and Jimmy's Uber example is Uber was a new model. It was a new company. And from the jump, it was here's one car and here's the price. And then eventually it was, you want, it started as like the black cars, but then it became any car. And then it was, you want XL, you want the extra room, you want an SUV, you want a van, then there's more options. But from the very, very jump of the company, it was, your credit card is on file and you know what you're paying, and you're paying for some stranger to come pick you up to drive you to the airport or wherever, versus healthcare where historically it was like we were just billing everything and there was minimal to no cost out of the patient's pocket. Now over the previous 5-10 years, higher copays, higher coinsurances, higher premiums, higher everything. And then some of the patients get mad at us because we're passing it along to them. That's just the way it is. The changing world, it's a changing business model.
I don't know if it's gigantically different. I mean, you still called the car with your phone. Like, that was the thing, right? When you called a car, you either stood on a corner in a busy city.
But you never called an Uber 10, 20 years ago that was paid for by your United Healthcare, your Medicare.
Right. But so Uber there's two types of ideas. There's new ideas in old ways, or old ideas in new ways. Right. So Uber just said, like, you're going to call the cab with your phone, but the real magic for it is when you did that in New York 20 years ago. Yeah, we'll be there. And then you hoped and waited. Right. This was the reverse of supply and demand. They crowdsourced that supply to make sure it showed up on time. So that was the magic part of it. So, like, is it that big of a jump? You pay for things at physical therapy, right? You pay for things, like there's a monetary transaction. It's just everything's sort of been included there, except for when there's labs or when there's an extra thing. So it is framing. It's how you will frame this. I mean, there's clinics out there doing it, right? I'd love to see what the not that major, the subtle difference in what they do to frame, this is how we cover our costs. I mean, didn't someone just do an estimation of how much TheraBand someone would give away if they just gave away a little bit to each patient and like did the math on that? And it was not a little bit of TheraBand. It was not a little bit of money. And you're just like, you have no problem doing that. A clinician is like authorized to, just give away some TheraBand, but they're not authorized to just reach into the register and give away cash. That's not allowed, but you're doing that.
Right. Yep.
You know, talking about that, I don't remember which one of you guys, if not both, we talked about it, but I said, look, we're moving past the generation of individuals who had pensions, who had full coverage for healthcare. Like Dave said, I still have the occasional person who comes in, they're like, what, a $35 copay every visit? The majority of people now are like, hey, I know I have a $35 copay. I don't know how many visits I can afford. Let's start with 3. You know, pretty soon it's going to be, hey, I've got a high deductible plan. I've got an HSA account. I know it's going to be $127. We're moving out of that generation who expects everything to be paid for at 100%. Just like I don't think there's a 20-year-old who doesn't know what Uber is, where I, at 50, have been in one Uber one time in my life. One time.
Go anywhere. What?
Right.
Just once?
Just one?
Yeah. I think I've been in an old school taxi like twice and in an Uber once. But anyway, point being, someday I'll be dead and I'll be the last person who, you know, remembers those days. All of these shifts are coming. And I just think that if we focus that message, that culture, that idea on the new generation of clinicians who are coming out in a world where they understand people have copays, people are paying for things. The question is, how do we make it a seamless experience? You know, Jimmy talked about seeing my meat. I'm going to say it, seeing my meat on video before I choose the meat that I want. I was just, again, paid $1,000 to get new brake pads and my rotors cut. The guy doing the job showed me a live video of my car up on the lift and showed me what the drums and the pads look like, you know, in real time. How do we bring these things? I went out to a restaurant. I paid from my phone. Like, that was unheard of. I didn't even have to ask for the check. I just scanned the QR code. Like, why are my patients today not scanning a QR code and paying their copay all from their phone? Even though I have a credit card on file, like, why is my front desk still processing a credit card manually? The Buffalo Wild Wings can do it. Why can't I? Like, these are the technology we need.
So the app that Instacart would then ingest to make sure that Tony can pick his meat via FaceTime would be called Only Hams, because you do the cam, the meat on the cam. So somebody go make that. But you're right. Healthcare is there an industry? This is for the listeners live and recorded, and for you guys. Is there an industry that moves slower? Education, maybe. Although I think they probably move faster. Because they understand, like, I feel like education every year is like, how's our admissions? How's our admissions for they're prospecting 3-4 years out. I think with healthcare, we're just like, we're sick people. Hey, look at that. There's a new person. They're healthy. They're going to be sick. We're going to need them eventually. So I think maybe we rely on that. Is there an industry that maybe adopts slower, but should or could adopt faster than us? Like, there's the paradigm for me, is you could adopt faster and do more good. But we don't, because I don't know. It's so large. It's so ingrained. It's so, it's got a leg, a third party leg in the 3-legged stool that doesn't want to change. What's the problem? You print more money next year. I don't want you to be better. There's sick people, and we get a cut without having to practice medicine. Maybe I just answered my own question. But is there an industry that moves slower? I don't know if there is.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't know of any.
It's a shame.
It is. You know, I heard an interesting concept the other day. They were talking about medical heroes. They were talking about the individuals who kind of led the way for vaccines, led the way for new medical discoveries and experimentation. I think we're just so risk averse. It's so dangerous. A popular theme I see right now across social media is we need more geriatrics lifting heavy weights.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, yes, we need more people. We need to popularize being strong, being fit, being independent. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. Like, you have a responsibility to yourself, to your family, to your society, that you are not going to become another dependent living off of somebody else's hard work. You are going to do what you can within your capacity to be strong and resilient. Problem is, I'm guilty of it. I know the first person that goes out there does a 30-pound deadlift and gets hurt, that person's going to sue me. That's going to shut everything down. Even if it never happens, the fear of it happening is enough for me to say, you know what? I'd rather you not get stronger, not get better, not improve, and not get hurt on my premises. Even though you're going to get hurt out somewhere else, it's someone else's problem. The fear and the risk of liability holds the innovation back, holds the improvements back, holds us back from doing, really what we could be doing at our highest level.
Disclaimers. We just need disclaimers. Sign here. By acknowledging this, you acknowledge that something bad might happen.
So one thing I want to run by Tony. So with that, there's still one of the big concierge practices here in New York City. I've mentioned before Atria, and it's 120 grand to sign up. It's ridiculous. It's it's 60K initiation fee, 60K for the first year per person. But now, yes, I know it's for a small group of people. It's apparently they have like 2,500 members, which is insane. Do the math. They're doing somewhere between 80 and 100 million in revenue, potentially. And so if they're charging that amount, they can do different things. This is similar to my practice. Like, we charge more. And so we can, I can pay for all my therapists to, I reimburse my therapist for Ubers and Lyfts. I have my therapist pick up flowers and cakes and little, surprise gifts and things for our patients and clients when they have birthdays. And Atria, when you consult with them, or when you want to, speak with them about potentially joining with them, you can do the first or second visit with them in their place in Manhattan, or they'll come to your home, and it'll be 2 or 3 of the Atria folks coming to your home for you to potentially sign up. And one of them could be your actual physician. It could be your physician who's going to be your primary, but they call it a chief medical officer. It's like a chief, but it's your primary. It's like a different word on your primary care provider. It's like your chief medical physician, or whatever they call it. And so, yes, it's absurd. Yes, it's a lot of money, but when they charge the end consumer directly, they can do more. They can offer more. They can offer, more of that access, more of that intimate setting. I spoke to a patient several months ago. I happened to call her on her birthday, and she came from Atria. And then she was mentioning how recently her physician from Atria came with her to a different physician visit. The way that we've gone on visits with our patients and clients to go see physicians, a physician went with a patient to go see another physician. That's unheard of. It never happens unless this type of model, where the end consumer, the member, the client, the customer, is paying a lot of money out of pocket. And so, yes, there's the fear of regulation and malpractice and lawsuits and all that slows down innovation in healthcare. However, could that be the solution, Tony? I'm not saying it's the cure-all for everyone. I know not everyone has that type of money, but could the direct pay model be somewhat of a solution to fight back against the slow innovation of healthcare?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is the argument that permeates through all aspects of modern life. In New York, big issue right now is affordability for housing, right? Everybody is like, rent controls, and nobody's allowed to make any money, and landlords are evil, and all this stuff. If prices of real estate continue to go up, they are only going up because people continue to buy. There are humans that have the money to buy and pay for that. The fact is, if you pay me more as a landlord, I can keep the property in good standing. I can repair damages. I can improve, all of these things. You cap my ability to make a profit, that property value is going to decline. Medicare and third-party payers, it's price fixing. Like there's no other way to discuss it. They have a cap on how much they're going to pay you. And as a result, I can't do the things that Dave is talking about because I don't have the money to do them. Like I will lose only so much money before I can't stop losing anymore. And so, yes, as long as we still have that little sliver of hope, that light in the distance that says, hey, you got the money, you can have a better experience than what everybody else is going to get. That's where the innovation is going to come from. That's where the improvements, they're going to lead the way, just like Elon shooting a rocket, into space. Like it was privately funded. He's the one that created all of the innovation. I do think that is the potential solution. We can't vilify that though. Like that's the problem with popular media is there's so much vilification of that success, that innovation, that motivation. Probably well-meaning, but not productive.
I don't know. We've talked about this before. I don't know if Hinge or Sword is going to be the company that sticks around, but they're definitely the ones sort of pushing the paradigm right now, right? They're saying we're going to go in a different direction. They're doing some of the grand things that we're talking about in different ways. Do you know how I know that way is eventually going to be successful in some way, shape, or form? Because as soon as they came out, 96% of our profession was bitching about it. If it was bullshit and wasn't going to go anywhere or wasn't a threat, no one would mention it. The fact that people are running around with their red flags and saying, this is not good and this is never going to work. That's how I know. They're doing something that's pushing the boundary towards something extra. How we doing? Is it do a year to date or a year or 5 years?
Well, it hasn't been out a year. It hasn't been public for a year.
Oh.
So I think it went public. I'll do a year, but yeah, it went public May 22nd. It was $37. It shot up to around $60. Yeah, $60.35. Came down a little bit, sitting at 48. Stock price for Hinge is what we're talking about if you're just listening. They have a big earnings report coming up. Joseph Logan.
So I have keep talking. I have an email from a listener of one of our shows from a week or two ago. I totally forgot, and I think they did Sword or yes. I have to read this. I don't have time right now to screen share it since I'm on mobile.
Yeah,
fine.
Shout out to listener Randy on October 14th. This is over a week ago. I have to read this. So, hi, Dave. I ended up watching the Dave Kittle show about Sword Health from May, where you three were responding to the Sword Health tablet announcement. I initially searched for a Sword Health review and then ended up listening to your podcast, even though it was more of an analysis of the announcement video. Yeah. I wanted to provide a little feedback from an end user point of view, since the three of you were wondering, who is this targeting? What problem are they solving? And I think your analysis was more or less right on in the video, where you were analyzing the seemed IPO related with an attempt to reach investors. Do you guys remember that episode?
Yes.
Okay. So this guy, Randy, he's gotten 10 mailers from his insurance company, Care First, about Sword, inviting him to join in, since we're talking about Hinge and Sword, inviting him to sign up with their MOVE program and Thrive program. With the government shutdown, I finally had enough time to think about it and thought I'd give it a try, since it was no cost. It's only about a weekend and I'm still not sure who this is for. I did onboard with a real physical therapist, a video call, then got a separate real PT assigned to me that only texted, but so far seems fairly hands-off. The onboarding process forced me to select an area of pain. He actually didn't have an area of pain. He signed up because he's fairly active as a rock climber. He does that indoors 2 days a week. Wanted to see if they had a program that would help him or help me reach, enhance his ability with grip and mobility and build strength in areas to balance it all out. And blah, blah, let me fast forward. So far, I am not sure this program will meet my goals, which he did share his goals on the onboarding call. And he's not sure if it's the he's the target audience for this, but he said, I'm finding the initial exercises to be not demanding in the slightest. I was very specific during the onboarding that I am very active, but maybe they give everyone the same initial exercises just to see how they would perform them and follow through or follow up after, if anything. And they have another program, like I mentioned, called Move, uses a wristband fitness tracker, which maybe is more what he's looking for. And it's not made abundantly clear in the marketing. So Randy continued to say, I didn't opt for that since I already use a Garmin watch and it doesn't integrate, and he doesn't want to have to switch trackers. Anyway, in summary, last paragraph, and then I'm done. In summary, I'm also slightly confused by the offering. I can see why a carrier would want their members to move more, of course. I don't know why care he doesn't understand why Care First's insurance is paying for Sword, or if Sword is just the using their VC fueled money and lighting investor money on fire because of AI. So anyway, Randy continues to say he'll be interested, or it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. He'll keep at it and see if it adapts to what he needs and provides some challenge or mobility or strength or anything like that. But certainly at my current impression, I wouldn't pay more than what I currently pay for it. Nothing. We'll see if that changes. Take care. Feel free to share this on your podcast with your podcast mates if they're interested. Shout out Randy. Thank you very much for the email. What do you think? That's what I've been saying this whole time. Now, yes, therapists came out, Jimmy. Yes, they came out and they're like, oh, that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Sword and Hinge went one way, and we're going the complete opposite. Sword and Health are going like, here's this digital product, which is, yes, that's interesting and unique and different, but also it's covered by your health insurance, and you have no cost out of pocket or minimal to no cost. And Concierge Pain Relief is going the opposite way. Typically, you're going to pay a good amount out of pocket, and yes, it's drastically two different experiences. What do you guys think? Any takeaways? Any thoughts on that? Shout out, Randy.
Jimmy, go ahead.
I don't think it. Yeah, it's definitely it's not in its final form. It's a bell curve. Like there will be a market for whatever this turns into. This will turn into something different. It will stop changing when it finds a large enough audience.
Yeah, I agree, and I think as we see these technologies come out, you're going to see just how ineffective the bulk of therapy services is, especially in outpatient therapy. And I mean, I've looked at the research on, as an example, total joint replacement. You go to other countries that have socialized medicine, they're not getting physical therapy after a knee or a hip replacement, a shoulder. We have local surgeons right now that aren't referring shoulder replacement surgery patients to physical therapy. They're giving them a sheet of exercises and saying, go ahead, you're good. Get out of the sling in 3 days and just start doing your stuff. We're going to see at scale a lot of the stuff that we have held so close and dear. It's not valuable. There's no reason to exchange money. If you can get a couple free exercises, fine, that's what it's worth. Now, there are individual cases that absolutely 1,000,000% need therapy. But I think we're coming out of a world where everybody across the board, you got a knee replacement, 12 weeks of physical therapy, no matter what. Now it's like, you got a knee replacement, but you're in your 40s, you're active, you're mobile, you're cognitively intact, you can do all this other stuff. Probably don't automatically need a PT referral. And just maybe the 20% or the 5% who have complications, they're going to get the PT referral. Everybody else would be fine with a product like Hinge, and they're going to monetize that audience in some way. Just like Facebook took years before they started showing ads and monetizing. Now it's one of the most profitable companies in the world. Like, they don't have to make a profit yet. They just need to get users on board.
Tony, I love you. Respectfully. There is absolutely no way that you can make a comparison between the US healthcare situation and a subsidized European. There's so many variables. One is, in the US, the BMI is heavier. The comorbidities are more. In Europe, more people walk and move, and they move around. So yes, it's a whole different setup of medicine and healthcare. Also, I was trying to prompt this. Maybe Jimmy's doing it right now because I hear the keyboard thundering and rumbling. The difference between the knee replacements and the knee scope surgeries that are done in the US versus Europe is insanely more performed, overly performed in the US. So you're saying, oh, well, these patients don't even need therapy. They don't even need the surgeries. They don't need these knee replacements. They don't need the knee scopes, the meniscectomies, and the debridements and all this stuff to go clean up your knee joint is overperformed in the United States because of the incentives around the reimbursement and the healthcare system, and many, not all, but many of the orthopedic surgeons in the United States. It is not even close. I will pull it up right now to fill, and you guys can jump in. But these surgeries are not performed even remotely at the same rates in Germany and Spain and Italy and other countries in Europe. So when those patients actually come out and they just need a cookie cutter, sheet of exercise to do their exercises, okay, yeah, maybe. But also you're confronting like the downstream component of that. The person comes out of surgery and now doesn't need physical therapy. We need to talk about the overperformance of surgeries because oftentimes these are drastically overperformed in the US for many reasons that we can get into now or in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's shocking. I mean, I see patients on a regular basis who are like, I was out on a hike and I climbed this mountain and my knee kind of bugged me a little bit. And my surgeon said it's bone on bone. So I scheduled a replacement for 3 weeks from now. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Exactly.
Yeah, those are all separate options or separate problems. I want to clean up my backyard first before I start worrying about what everybody else is doing, because I have no control over that. Yes, they're incentivized to deliver those surgeries. Yes, we look at the research on meniscectomies and debridements, and they're no better off at 2 years post-op. But then that goes back to, we have a culture that breeds disability and infirmity and makes people sick because you get rewarded the sicker you are. You get rewarded with more attention and more services and so many other things. Like we've gone too far from maybe the main topic at hand, but I agree with you 100%. All of those things are overutilized. Jimmy's nodding.
I think there's too many options, and it will be too easy to customize in the future. I mean, I'm talking near future for a large enough portion of the population. There's a reason that the center of the bell curve is really, really large, is most people need sort of generically this stuff. I have a discussion going on with ChatGPT about my workouts right now. It understands what I'm doing, playing beer league hockey, trying to get back in shape. I just took a picture of my gym. At first, I started typing in each and every piece of equipment. Then I just took a picture of the gym. I was like, here's what I have. I don't really like doing that, but I'll do it. I do this. Hey, I'm bored. I did this yesterday. I'm a little sore with that. How about today? And it switches it up. I haven't added computer vision watching me do it, but once you do that, it will be able to do what brand new physical therapist is doing. I know, again, this is when you've struck a chord, when a lot of the Facebook comments start with 25-year experienced therapist here, like essentially trying to qualify or quantify and qualify their value. But the value is only on the outcome.
And that's where I think we're going to see society moving toward, whether it's Hinge and Sword or whether it's just ChatGPT or Gemini. I think right now the technology is still not at the point where it can effectively give a patient who isn't well versed in explaining what their problems are an appropriate solution. But it's the worst it's ever going to be right now. It's only going to get better from here. And it's not too far away from replacing the majority of below average physical therapists.
That's what it is, right? It's the people who go through the motions, the people who aren't listening to podcasts in their profession. Like, I don't want people who are listening to this, and I'm generalizing you, but like it probably isn't you. If you're
Right.
asking yourself on a semi-regular basis, how do I stay ahead of the curve or do better? Those are the people that I think will be able to use these tools or stay ahead of these tools or beat the tools. It really is the bell curve worth of our profession. I'm just going to go in and I'm using a protocol that I have that's photocopied from a book 25 years ago. And I've been doing that. It's good enough.
Yeah, especially for the price. Go back to ChatGPT is still free for a huge portion of humanity. The knowledge and the access to knowledge is free for a huge portion of humanity. I pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. I pay $20 a month for Gemini. But even that is a drop in the bucket compared to the value and the resources I have extracted from that, looking back 10 years ago compared to today. So if we're thinking about parting shots and kind of wrapping up the show, I think like always, we're moving toward a new economy. We're moving toward, new challenges and new opportunities. We can embrace this or we can reject it. Either one is right. Like, I'm going to hit a point where I'm like, I don't care. Dry needling. I don't want to know dry needling. I don't want to learn it. I am rejecting a new technology that could probably make me more money and help my patients. I'm just not interested. It's okay to say no as new things develop. But then it's also okay to say yes. Hey, I want to bring in, some new things to freshen up my business and remain relevant in this economy we live in.
Yeah, you don't have to take the next new technological leap every time it comes. Like, get the PlayStation 2, and then when the PlayStation 3 comes out, you could be like, I'll wait for the 4. Like, I'll ride this 2 out until this comes out. That's fine. But paying attention to where the juice is worth the squeeze, that I think is where the magic is. Look, I'm at a conference right now. I walk around the vendor and the exhibit hall all the time, seeing what people are doing and how they're messaging it and what they're talking about, what problems they're deciding that they want to solve. And if you were someone here to buy, if you run a health system and you're like, okay, what are we looking at? I don't expect you to just buy the newest everything every time it's upgraded. That would be insane. It's knowing what's the biggest fire, what's the biggest hairy, scary problem I need to invest in, and then hopefully making a good solution for that.
Dave, parting shot.
Oh man. Well, my parting shot is for me. I mean, I'll take my own advice. We're going to stay in our lane. We see what's working. We have an offering. We have a certain amount of people that say yes to it. We have a certain amount of people that say no to it. It repels some. It attracts some. And man, I'll tell you what. Yes, we're way smaller than Hinge and Sword and all that. But if we have people paying, on average $5,000 per person, and they love it and they refer others and they enjoy it and they benefit and we're helping them reach their goals, it's a beautiful thing. No, it's not for everyone, but that is life in business. Like, we have certain offerings that are for certain people. You can't be everything to everyone.
All right, guys, continue to do what you do best. Another week is in the books for PT Breakfast Club. Go check out the Dave Kittle Show, PT Pinecast, learn Medicare billing. Dave, Jimmy, have an amazing weekend. We'll catch up with you next time.
Thank you.